Ava's POV. I stared at my reflection in the mirror and was finally satisfied. After what felt like hours of frantic searching, I had finally found a dress that would perfectly complement the earrings. Yes, those earrings, the ones I discovered hidden in Jason's pocket this morning. A pair of delicate and luxurious pearl earrings adorned with diamonds. It was created by my favorite designer, Kikichi Mikimoto, one of only 5 such earrings in the world. Jason is so thoughtful that he would secretly buy the jewelry I like and give it to me as a surprise on our wedding anniversary. Yes, I was sure he would give this gift to me tonight. I kept checking my dress and makeup in the mirror, and couldn't help imagining how stunning I would look in those earrings. My hands smoothed down the fabric of the dress, which clung to my body in a way it hadn't just a few weeks ago. I turned to the side, my eyes drawn to the slight, but unmistakable curve of my abdomen. A secret I had yet to share with anyone, least of all Jason. Finally, after 3 years of marriage, Jason and I were going to be parents. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the news that would make tonight's anniversary dinner with Jason even more special. I placed my hands on my lower abdomen and the smile on my face grew even wider. Jason and I have been together since college. I feel very lucky to be married to such a wonderful man. Although Jason is not great at expressing himself and rarely shows his emotions, I still think our marriage is happy. I went to get my phone, intending to ask Jason if he could come home early tonight. But a striking piece of news forced me to click on it. In the video, under the countless camera flashes, the elegant man in a neatly tailored black coat was very familiar to me. That was my husband. And next to him was a charming lady, whom I had never seen before. The CEO of Campbell Group appeared at the airport, with his secret girlfriend. Each word in that headline felt like a sharp blade, cutting through my confidence. I held my cold hands together, trying to steady my breathing and make sense of what I had seen. I couldn't see the face of the woman in the video from the camera's angle. Therefore, I felt that their relationship might not be what the press suggested. After all, I knew the man I had married. We had built 3 years of memories, and trust was supposed to be our foundation. Maybe she was just a relative, someone close but not what they claimed. A soft click from the front door pulled me from my thoughts, and I rushed over. Jason was wearing a brown trench coat, looking even more handsome than in the video. "Hey babe, welcome back." I helped him take off his coat and took his bag. "How was your day?" I asked. "Hectic as usual but went smoothly." "Why are you all dressed up? Are you going out this late?" "Huh? You don't remember?" I couldn't hide the disappointment in my voice. He looked at me with a puzzled expression. "Remember what?" "What day it is, babe?" I pouted. I led him to the dining table hoping he was just pretending not to remember, but he still had that puzzled expression when he saw the table setting. My heart sank. "Stop joking, dear. It's our anniversary. I know you just want to surprise me." I started to feel ridiculous. It was so obvious that he didn't even remember our anniversary, but I still wanted to give him another chance, or maybe give myself another chance. Jason rubbed the back of his neck apologetically. "I'm sorry, Ava, I have been preoccupied lately with work. It slipped my mind that today was our anniversary, but I promised to make it up to you. What do you want? Anything at all, just mention it and I will get it for you in the blink of an eye." I stared at him intently. "Come on, I saw the pair of earrings this morning. Why don't you take it out and put it on me?" Jason tilted his head quizzically. "Which earrings?" I looked at his perfectly handsome face under the light and suddenly felt that I had never really gotten to know him. Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupted everything. He strode towards the door and I followed behind him, curious to know who was visiting this late at night. As he opened the door, a young lady hugged him and said with the sweetest voice, "Why haven't you gotten ready?" "I'm starving." I recognized that voice. It was the same as the lady in the news. Confusion and disbelief swirled within me as I stared at Jason and stared back at this stranger holding his arm intimately. I glared at the lady intensely and my eyes were fixed on the sparkling diamond in her earlobe. The earrings she wore bore a striking resemblance to the one I found in Jason's closet, which I thought were my anniversary gift. My heart skipped a beat. The lady turned to me with a saccharine smile. "Oh, you must be his wife. Nice to meet you. I'm Laura Martinez. He always talks about you. I just got divorced today, so I asked Jason to have dinner with me to celebrate. I'll borrow him tonight, thank you." Hearing the woman's words, I looked at Jason expecting an explanation. Instead, I noticed he was putting his coat back on. Jason. I stared at him in disbelief. Jason glanced at me, an uncomfortable look crossing his face. Ava, I'm sorry. Maybe we can celebrate another time. I promise I'll be back soon. But it's our anniversary, I protested weakly, feeling lost and betrayed. I even made your fave. Before I could finish my statement, the door was slammed in my face. He left with Laura, leaving me standing by the doorway with a shattered heart. I tried to understand and piece together what had just happened. It still felt like a dream to me. Who was Laura, and why was she wearing those earrings? Did Jason give them to her? How could he go out with another woman on our anniversary day? This was the first time Jason had ever forgotten our anniversary, so don't blame me for overthinking. I took the pregnancy test results out of my pocket. Tears threatened to spill over, but I blinked them back. What went wrong with my marriage? I can't risk Jason knowing about my baby until I figure this out, so I stuffed the results into the deepest compartment of my bag. I retreated into the empty house that suddenly felt cold and desolate. Ava's POV liar. He said he would be back soon, but he left me waiting all night. I dragged myself to Campbell Group, where I work. The company is owned by Jason's family, and Jason is the CEO and my boss. Sally Parker, my best friend and colleague, greeted me with concern the moment I walked into my office. Ava, are you okay? You don't look well. Forcing a smile, I nodded. I'm fine, just tired. She looked at me skeptical but decided not to press further. Well, you'll be pleased to hear that today they're announcing the new design director. It has to be you, Ava. You've worked so hard for it. Congratulations in advance. Thanks, Sal. I appreciate your support. I am somewhat calm because I knew the position would be mine. Jason had assured me, and I was ready to take on the responsibilities of the design director. I noticed everyone's phone buzzing with a new notification, including mine. I know it must be the appointment notification. Sally hurriedly checked her phone. Her brows furrowed as she read the message. She looked up at me, her expression mixed with confusion and misbelief. The new design director is Laura Martinez. Who the hell is Laura Martinez? What? I gasped. The name sent a chill through me. Laura Martinez here in this company? It couldn't be the same woman from last night, could it? Yet the name was unmistakable, leaving me frozen in disbelief. How could this be happening? Snatching up Sally's phone, I read the notice again, hoping for some clarification that would dispel my shock. But there it was, plain as day. Laura Martinez was indeed appointed as the new design director. My heart sank. How could Jason bring Laura into my world like this? The chatter around me grew louder as whispers of the appointment spread through the office. Ava, a colleague said, tapping my shoulder, we were asked to go to the conference room. The CEO wants to introduce the new design director. I nodded mechanically, still reeling from the news. Sally walked silently beside me, her eyes filled with questions she didn't voice. As we neared the conference room, snippets of conversation floated around me. Did you hear? The new design director is the CEO's wife. The words hit me like a slap. Oh, now I understand why he appointed her and not Ava. I feel so bad for Ava. The position was meant to be hers. She can't compete with the CEO's wife, can she? Chloe Morgan interjected, her tone filled with spite. Sally squeezed my hand gently in support. I glanced at her, forcing a smile that I didn't feel. Inside the conference room, the tension was palpable. All eyes turned as Laura walked in. Her confident stride and poised smile commanded attention, her navy blue suit fitting her perfectly. I felt a sharp pain as I watched her greet everyone with ease. She moved to Jason's side and leaned in, whispering something that made his face light up. My hands tightened into fists as I fought back tears. Beside me, Sally noticed and whispered, "Don't let them see it, Ava. You're stronger than this." Jason stood and announced proudly, "Everyone, this is Laura Martinez, the new design director. Her ideas and creativity will take our company to new heights. Please cooperate with her." The room erupted into applause, but all I felt was numbness. After the announcement, I returned to my office. Anger bubbled inside me, and I thought about storming into Jason's office to demand an explanation. But I couldn't. A confrontation like that would draw attention, and I didn't want people questioning us. Because apart from Sally, no one knows I was the CEO's wife. I tried to focus on work, but my thoughts kept drifting back to Laura, Jason, and the betrayal I felt. Minutes felt like hours until a knock on my door interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Jason walked in, guilt etched on his face. "I need to talk to you," he said, closing the door behind him. I crossed my arms, waiting for an explanation. "Ava, I didn't want you to find out this way," he began, his voice low. "But I owe Laura and her family a debt. A huge one." I frowned. "What are you talking about?" He hesitated, his gaze dropping. "You know Campbell Group almost went bankrupt some years ago, right? We were on the verge of losing everything." I nodded, my heart racing as I tried to piece together his words. "A competitor found out about our financial troubles and tried to sabotage us. Laura's parents stepped in. They lent us a significant amount of money when no one else would. It saved the company, but it cost them everything. Their deaths were partly because of the risks they took to help us." My breath caught. "I owe them, Ava," Jason said quietly. "That's why I had to appoint Laura. She's their daughter, and after everything her family did, I couldn't turn her away. It wasn't about choosing her over you. I just didn't know how else to repay what her family sacrificed for us." The weight of his words settled over me. It didn't erase the pain, but it explained his actions in a way I couldn't ignore. "And before you think anything else, Laura and we were together a long time ago, but it ended. I don't feel anything for her anymore. I need to take care of her out of gratitude. I hope you can understand that." His honesty softened something inside me. It hurt, but I could see his sincerity. "I understand," I said quietly. "It's a lot to take in, but I get it. You were doing what you had to for the company." Relief washed over his face. "Thank you, Ava. You mean everything to me." I nodded. "Just don't keep me in the dark next time." "I promise," he said, leaning in to kiss my forehead before leaving. The office felt unbearably quiet after he left. I sat down, trying to process everything. Before I knew it, it was completely dark. I checked the time, it was almost 10 o'clock in the evening. I rubbed my neck, which was sore from fatigue, and decided to go home. As I was leaving, I noticed the light in Jason's office was still on. I felt a strong urge to go to his door, like something was pulling me there. Just as I got close to his door, I heard Jason's gentle voice, "Don't cry, you will ruin your makeup." A shiver ran down my spine. Jason has never spoken to me this gently before, and a bad idea crept into my mind. I lifted my legs to leave, not wanting to face this potentially cruel fact, but my legs remained rooted to the spot. I pushed the door open just a crack and saw Jason gently running his fingers through Laura's hair as she curled up against him, crying softly in a voice that could melt anyone's heart. I blinked rapidly, trying to make sense of the shocking scene before me. What she said next froze me in place. "But you know that I got divorced because of you." Ava's POV. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. Laura's words echoed in my ears like a thunderclap. I could feel my chest growing so tight that it became difficult for me to breathe. "You left me and married him, claiming he was the love of your life, so right now I don't care if you got divorced because of me or not," Jason retorted, his voice laced with bitterness. Every word felt like a needle piercing my heart. "I was young and confused, Jason. I'm sorry for the hurt I caused you back then. I thought I loved him, but I never did. It was after I married him that I realized I left gold for bronze." She added, "Jason, it's you my heart beats for." Laura sobbed, tears streaming down her cheeks. I was breathless, eager to know how Jason would react to the pitiful Laura in front of him, but I was also afraid that his answer would make me a complete loser in our marriage. "It's too late, Laura, I'm married," Jason declared. I watched in a daze, hoping for something. I wanted to see Jason break free from Laura's grip and tell her that he had nothing to do with her anymore. If that happened, then our marriage could still have a chance of survival. Laura's voice trembled as she asked the question that haunted me. "Do you love her?" Her eyes searched Jason's for a definitive answer. My heart ceased to beat. I wasn't sure if I wanted to know the answer. From dating to marriage, Jason has been considerate to me in every way, but I have never heard him say he loves me. I thought those 3 words, "I love you," were not that important, and our marriage was still happy without them. But now, I have never been so eager to hear a positive answer from him. Whether I love her or not has nothing to do with you. He evaded a direct answer. It was hard for me to judge whether this answer was good or bad for me. I felt a bitterness in my heart and had to open my mouth to keep breathing. Laura pressed on, her voice tinged with desperation. Do you still love me? Please tell me the truth. The silence that followed was deafening. Jason's reluctance to answer spoke volumes, leaving me stunned and unable to comprehend what was happening. My cold palms were sweating and black spots began to appear in my vision. I couldn't stand steadily. It felt like I was stepping into a quagmire and was about to lose my balance. In that moment of tense silence, I stumbled back, losing my footing for a brief moment and making a small sound unintentionally drawing their attention. Who's there? Jason stood and rushed over to the door. I turned and fled, tears blurring my vision. My steps stumbled, but I tried my best to keep my balance and kept running forward. Ava, please wait. He pleaded, his voice filled with urgency. I ran as fast as I could trying to escape but my legs failed me. His long legs caught up to me and he grabbed my hand, pinning me to a wall. My eyes were drenched with tears as I struggled. Get your filthy hands off me, Jason. Ava, please, it's not what you think. Let's go home first, I'll explain everything. Jason pleaded. I used the back of my hands to wipe the tears off my face, glaring at him intensely. What do you want to explain, Jason? The fact that you can't answer a simple question of whether you love me or not, or the fact that I saw another woman in your arms, the same woman you gave my position to and went on a date with on our anniversary. If you didn't love me, why then did you marry me? I blurted out, my eyes all red and puffy. We've been married for 3 years, he continued, trying to reassure me. Please believe me. I wanted to believe him, to trust that our marriage could withstand this storm, even though I didn't hear him say that affirmative word. So I nodded reluctantly, giving him a chance to explain. But just as a flicker of hope ignited within me, Jason's phone buzzed. I kept praying in my heart that this message was not sent by Laura. But when Jason's phone lit up, I felt my throat close up. Laura had sent him a picture message showing her injured wrist. Panic flashed across Jason's face and he turned to leave without hesitation. I stopped him, my voice sharp with hurt and frustration. Where are you going? Aren't you coming home with me to explain? I demanded, and my heart sank with each passing second. It's an emergency. Laura hurt herself, she is bleeding profusely. I snatched his phone and glanced at the photo. The wound on Laura's wrist was very shallow, avoiding the artery. It posed no real danger at all, it was clearly a ploy for attention and sympathy. Babe, why don't you head home first? Once I check on her I will come home and explain everything to you. His words were full of urgency. He loved her so much that he couldn't bear to let her get hurt in any way. Once again, he was going to leave me for her. Somehow, I wanted to take a gamble. I wanted to take a gamble on whether this marriage was still worth my nostalgia, and whether this man was still worth my deep love. If you go to her, I won't listen to a word you say ever again, I threatened. Ava, when did you become cold-hearted? He stared at me like I was the villain. His questioning look hurt me like an icy blade. Can't you see that the wound is shallow? She is trying to gain your attention and you are falling for her petty tricks. I didn't know you to be this easily deceived, Jason, I yelled, clenching my fist tightly. Don't be heartless. After giving me a reproachful look, he rushed away, leaving me standing alone with my shattered heart. A sudden jolt of electricity coursed through my veins, leaving me momentarily stunned as I watched him walk away. My mind is swirling with doubts about our marriage. My head ached as different questions popped into it. Why does Laura have this much effect on him? Could it be that he's in love with her? As I stood there, the weight of uncertainty crushed me. I realized that with Laura around, my happiness with Jason was at stake. With a baby on the way, I faced an impossible choice, whether to fight for our fractured love or prepare myself for a future alone. I realized my choice would affect not just my future but the future of my unborn child, which Jason is yet to know of. Tears streamed down my cheeks and I wondered if our love could survive the storm that is threatening to tear us apart. If our marriage is unhappy, should I still give birth to this baby? Ava's POV. The house was quiet as I slowly woke up, the soft hum of the morning light filtering through the curtains. I noticed the other side of the bed was empty and showed no signs of Jason coming in last night. I felt a pang of sadness within me as different wild thoughts ran through my head. The silence of the atmosphere was interrupted by a burst of laughter. I frowned, as I slipped out of bed and followed the sound. The laughter grew louder and mingled with the clinking of dishes. Pushing open the kitchen door, I met a scene that stung more than a slap. Jason and Laura were standing at the counter, their movement in perfect harmony like they had practiced this routine 1,000 times. Laura leaned closer to Jason, her hands brushing his as they worked together. Jason, who always seemed so reserved, was laughing at something Laura said. His laughter was so rich and genuine, a sound I hadn't heard often. A pang of jealousy pierced my heart. "Good morning, Ava." Laura noticed me and showed a sweet smile. "Come and try Jason's cooking. I'm sure it's delicious." With that, she took the food to the table, like a hostess, making me feel like a guest in my own husband's house. "Good morning, darling. I was making breakfast, but Laura wanted to help. It's turning out pretty impressive." Laura flashed me a bright smile, her eyes twinkling with a bit of mischief. "We've been cooking for a while now. Jason's cooking is amazing, but he does need some guidance." I felt my heart tighten. I wanted to ask Jason why he didn't come home last night and what Laura was doing in our home, but I couldn't. "Jason always cooks for me, so I'm sure without your assistance his meal would taste nice," I said in a low tone. Laura's smile didn't falter. "Well, then you have me to thank for that. I remember when we were abroad, I had to teach him step by step. He was pretty clueless at first, but with time he picked up." Her words stung more than I expected. It wasn't just the acknowledgement of their past, but the way she spoke casually about it. We sat down for breakfast and Laura kept on talking about the sweet memories she shared with Jason, her voice full of nostalgia. I felt like she was deliberately trying to draw out the details of their past relationship to spite me, and she won because each word felt like a knife twisting in my chest. Laura said something that took my breath away. "You know, Jason has always taken good care of me. Even on your wedding night, he left you just because I argued with my husband." The room felt like it had frozen. My fork fell from my hand, clattering onto the plate. I vaguely remember that I sat on the balcony and waited all night. On the wedding night, he left his newly married wife and went out without a care. I thought it was a big deal, worried about his safety, and wondered if I had made him unhappy while expecting him to come home early. I was only 23 years old at the time, and I married someone I had loved for many years. How could I not have expectations for marriage in him? But it was not until today that I found out that when I was waiting for him to come home with hope, he was with another woman. All this seemed like a joke. I looked at Jason, trying to read his reaction. I had never known why he had disappeared that night, and I had never asked. I had buried the pain, but now it was all coming back raw and unbearable. Jason's expression darkened, his smile vanishing. "Can you stop talking about the past?" he said sharply, slamming the table with his fist, his voice cold. Laura blinked momentarily, taken aback, her eyes, which were glowing with excitement, now flashed with a mix of hurt and confusion. "Why are you reacting like this? What's wrong?" Jason glared at her. "You are being childish and willful. There are things you should not say in front of my wife." Laura's eyes welled up with tears, her voice trembling. "You've never yelled at me before. Why are you being like this now?" I watched their exchange, my mind racing. I was both relieved and unsettled. On one hand, Jason's reaction seemed to indicate that he was distancing himself from their past. But on the other hand, I was scared that his coldness meant that there were still unresolved feelings or issues between them. Jason's next words were like a cold slap on Laura's face. "I'll have my assistant arrange for you to be taken home. If you need anything, contact him directly instead of coming to me." Laura's face turned red with anger, her hands shaking. "Fine, I won't bother you anymore. Whether I live or die, it's none of your concern." Jason's face remained impassive. He didn't move nor offer a word of comfort or regret. He just nodded stiffly, his eyes avoiding hers. I had expected him to soften, to show some hint of the man who cared for Laura in the past, but instead, he slapped her with cold words. Laura stormed out, slamming the doors behind her. The silence that followed was almost deafening. I felt a storm of emotions. Jason's eyes met mine. I saw something in them I couldn't quite place, perhaps regret or guilt. "I'm sorry you had to see that," he said quietly. I nodded, unable to find my voice. Instead, I turned back to the table, staring at my untouched breakfast. My mind was crowded with thoughts trying to make sense of everything that had just transpired. Did he just draw a line with Laura and remove her from the picture? Ava's POV. The days that followed Laura's departure were strange. Jason became more loving and attentive towards me. He cooked for me, bought me flowers, and even took a leave of absence from work to spend quality time with me. It felt like the early days of our relationship. I felt that he was trying to compensate me for all the agony I had undergone during these past recent months. He could not have been more successful. After getting home from work, Jason changed his clothes and went to prepare dinner. And I rested on the couch and watched him busy in the kitchen. He was tall and handsome, and the sunset shone on him through the windows, creating a light halo that removed some of his coldness. He lowered his eyes slightly, and his hands with distinct bony fingers handled the ingredients skillfully. This scene gave me a feeling of peace. "What's wrong?" He turned around and asked me in a gentle voice. "Babe, will you be able to accompany me to the hospital tomorrow for a checkup?" I decided to break the news of my pregnancy to him, hoping it would make our bond stronger. "Oh yes, is everything okay?" he asked, coming to me and looking worried. "Yes, just a regular checkup, but I want you to be my company," I replied, my voice slightly trembling. "Okay, darling." He leaned and kissed me on my forehead. My cheeks turned pink. That evening Jason made my favorite meal. We talked and laughed over dinner like we hadn't done in years. After dinner, we cuddled up in bed while watching a movie till eventually I fell asleep in his arms. In the late hours of the night, I woke up and found Jason's side of the bed empty. I felt a sense of uneasiness about it as a knot of anxiety started forming in my stomach. I got off the bed and padded out of the room. My footsteps echoed silently through the dark house. I reached outside the balcony only to see him talking to someone on his phone, and I felt relieved. He didn't notice my presence because his back faced me. I noticed his voice was low and he sounded tense. I stood by the door, straining my ears to hear the details of his conversation. "If she wants to die, try to stop her. If you can't stop her, call 120. Don't call me. I won't divorce Ava for her." I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under my feet. My heart thudded in my chest as I stepped back, not wanting him to know that I was there. The warmth and security of the evening evaporated, replaced by a cold, crushing reality. Despite everything, Laura was still a part of our lives, and Jason's conversation over the phone suggested that she was still a problem. I returned to the bed, my mind racing. What did he mean? Was Laura threatening to hurt herself? I had hoped that his rejection of Laura meant a new beginning to us, but now I wasn't so sure. Amidst my thoughts, I drifted off to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, Jason was gone. The servant informed me that he had left early, saying he had urgent matters to attend to. I called him hoping for some explanation. He answered on the third ring, sounding tired. I noticed that there must be something wrong. "What happened?" "Babe, I'm sorry I can't come today," he said, his voice distant. All my expectations were extinguished in an instant, and I felt cold from head to toe. My heart sank. I felt disappointed and worried. He had promised to come with me to the hospital, but now he was nowhere to be found. I held the phone, unable to speak for a long time. I wanted to ask something, but it seemed meaningless. I hung up feeling a familiar sense of abandonment. The hope I had felt days ago seemed like a distant memory. I was the one he gave up after weighing things over and over again. I subconsciously touched my belly, and suddenly began to wonder again, should I keep this baby? If I keep it, it will be difficult to completely break off the relationship between him and me, even if I want to. My mind was filled with thoughts about Jason and Laura as I drove alone to the hospital. While driving past the crowded road, I was plagued with a funny feeling that something was wrong. Jason's conduct, Laura's residual presence, and my insecurities were like having a dark cloud hovering above me. I attempted to concentrate on the road, but my mind kept wandering back over the events of the last few days. Not paying attention, I only noticed when it was too late that the light ahead had turned red. I stepped on the brake, but my legs felt as though they were made of lead and the car skidded across the wet pavement. My vehicle spun around and I felt an acute pain in my side as my seatbelt dug into me. At this point, my head was spinning and I couldn't see clearly because of how blurry my vision was. With a bang, I crashed into something. When I came to my senses, I felt dizzy and my ribs were in unbearable pain. The first thought that pierced through my mind was the little one growing inside of me. I needed to make sure my baby was okay. With shaking hands I reached for my phone and dialed Jason's number, praying he would answer. The phone rang endlessly, each ring increasing my fear. My stomach began to ache, and I was gripped by a fierce fear at the thought of losing my child. Please. Jason. Pick up the phone. Finally, someone picked up, but it wasn't Jason. Didn't Jason tell you that he has no time for you today? He's busy. Why do you keep calling? Laura's voice was like ice water, shocking me into silence. The realization that Jason was with her and that he had allowed her to answer his phone was too much hurt to bear. My breathing was blocked, tears welled up in my eyes, and my fingers trembled. The call disconnected and I felt a wave of nausea. I struggled to breathe. I had loved that man for so many years. But at this moment, my feelings towards him were only hatred. The world blurred around me and the last thing I remembered was the sound of my ragged breathing and the feeling of tears on my cheek as I lost consciousness. Then, all I knew was darkness. Ava's POV. I regained consciousness in a hospital bed feeling dazed and confused. The room was well lit, and the clean scent of disinfectant overwhelmed my senses, almost suffocating me. My pulse quickened as the accident flashed back into my memory, vivid and harsh. The baby was my first concern. Fear took hold of me as I touched my belly, dreading the worst. Hey, easy there, came a familiar voice breaking through my racing thoughts. It was Sally sitting beside my bed. Her presence gave me a bit of comfort, but I got more anxious when I remembered I hadn't told her about my pregnancy. The weight of keeping this secret felt like a big rock was stuck in my throat. She saw the fear in my eyes and helped me lie back down on the bed, putting her hand on my arm. Don't worry. The baby is fine, she said in a calm and reassuring voice, but I could tell she was worried too. Her words brought me relief but also made me feel guilty. I hadn't planned to reveal my pregnancy like this to her, especially not under such dire circumstances. Sally looked at me, concern etched on her face, her eyebrows furrowing. Why didn't you let me know you were pregnant? She asked softly, her voice laced with a mix of hurt and confusion. I gulped, feeling the weight of my hidden truth pressing down on me. I didn't want to burden anyone, I thought I could manage myself, and I wasn't sure if the baby would make it, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper as I averted my gaze, unable to meet her eyes. I could feel the shame creeping in, the realization that I had kept such an important part of my life a secret from someone who cared for me. She let out a sigh, disappointment flickering across her features, but she was trying to grasp the situation. You should have told me, she murmured, her voice soft but firm like a gentle reprimand that cut deeper than I expected. Where's Jason? He ought to be here with you. A knot formed in my throat at the mention of his name. Jason. His name alone brought a rush of conflicting emotions within me, anger, sadness, and a deep sense of betrayal. I remembered the days that followed Laura's departure, how Jason had become more loving and attentive towards me, trying to make up for the neglect and pain. His gestures, the dinners, the laughter, and the tender moments had given me a glimmer of hope that maybe we could rekindle our relationship. But knowing that Jason was with Laura while I and his unborn child were on the brink of death made me realize that our relationship was built on shaky ground. Jason's affection felt like a desperate attempt to hold on to a semblance of control, not genuine love or commitment. I know that staying with him would only bring me more heartache and instability, and a part of me whispered that maybe it was time to let go. Divorce. The word lingered in my mind, but it wasn't something I could decide so easily. Jason. He's not here, I said, my voice laced with sadness. Sally, I continued hesitantly, my voice trembling, I don't know if I can keep going like this with Jason. Her eyes softened as she leaned closer. What are you saying, Ava? I've been thinking about divorce, I confessed, though the words felt foreign leaving my lips. But I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm strong enough to walk away or if it's even the right decision for the baby. What? Sally's eyes widened in shock, disbelief washing over her face. What went wrong? Our relationship has struggled for some time, and I'm tired of the constant neglect and heartache. Sally reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. Ava, whatever you decide, I'm here for you. If you want to fight for your marriage, I'll support you. And if you decide you're better off without him, I'll stand by you every step of the way. Her words were like a lifeline, helping me stay calm amid the storm of emotions raging inside. I nodded, tears blurring my vision. Thank you. That means a lot. Sally gave me a small, reassuring smile. You don't have to figure everything out right now. Just focus on getting better, for yourself and the baby. Before I could respond, her phone suddenly rang. She was a little annoyed by the interruption and wanted to hang up the phone. It's okay, just answer it, I said. Sorry dear, it must be work. She picked up and her expression suddenly changed to one of concern and urgency. When she hung up, I said, You can go, babe, don't worry about me, I'll be fine. Thanks, babe, I'll be back soon. She kissed my forehead and left in a hurry, leaving me all alone with my thoughts. Please save her. Wait outside. Only if you wait outside can the doctor treat your wife better. I heard a commotion and couldn't help but come out to see what was going on. As soon as I walked into the corridor, I saw a tall man being driven out of the emergency room by the nurse. My heart raced as I recognized that familiar handsome face. My brain was buzzing with confusion as I stood there stunned. Jason's suit was wrinkled, and there was blood on his cuffs. It was an awkward sight because he is usually neatly dressed. He waited outside with an impatient look, and his heart and eyes were filled with worry for the woman in the emergency room. I had never seen him like this, like a trapped beast, raw and vulnerable. I didn't know what happened to me. Maybe I wanted to grasp the last glimmer of hope. I took out my mobile phone and dialed his number. If he told me everything truthfully, it might not be too bad. From where I stood I saw his hesitation to pick up. He finally answered after the third ring. He didn't even let me speak and immediately said, Hey babe, I'm sorry but I can't talk at the moment. I'm dealing with an emergency at the company. Let's talk later when I get back. After he finished speaking he hung up the phone on my ears without letting me utter a word. The betrayal stung like a slap across my face and I couldn't hold back the tears in my eyes from pouring down. I don't know how long it took, it felt like an eternity. The nurse in the emergency room came out and called out. Is Laura's husband here? Jason strode closer. Yes. I'm here. The short answer was like a dagger cutting my heart, twisting deeper with every passing second. Not far away, he asked anxiously, How is her condition? Is it serious? His voice cracked and I could see the fear etched on his face, a reflection of the turmoil within me. She lost so much blood, what do you think? But fortunately, you brought her in just in time, she's fine now. After the nurse finished speaking, as if she was afraid that he would be worried, she added, The baby in her womb is fine